Welcome back to Friars All Access, and as the spring approaches, so does the buzz when it comes to basketball recruiting, and we have one of the best in the business right here, Adam Finkelstein, Cox Sports recruiting specialist for the entire country. And Adam, I want to start off with probably my favorite out of the bunch right now, who Ed Cooley signed early, McDonald's All-American Chris Dunn from New London.
Well, yeah, Chris has really taken his game to new levels in the last year, and you know the exciting thing about that for Providence fans is Coach Cooley was really on him before his reputation really got to this level, and a year ago no one considered him to be a McDonald's All-American type prospect, but his game and his body have really blossomed at the same time, and he's a guy who I think Friar fans should really be excited about. And
you have a real pulse on what goes on in the summer in terms of July recruiting. Right. The word is that the other big schools, the assistants were chasing Dunn. Cooley was personally recruiting him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think it came to the point there where there was a time where everyone assumed he was going to Louisville for an official visit, the first weekend allowed in September, and then Coach Cooley came in and really put the full court press on and got him to commit before that period started. So that was really huge because his recruitment was really going to take off. He already had Louisville, he had Florida, he had a bunch of those high-level people, and it was only going to get bigger from there.
Yeah, and some fans have stopped me at the dunk throughout the year and said, what's his competition like? You know, is it a little down up near Northern Connecticut and New London? But you've seen him play in a lot of different settings.
Yeah, that's a fair question because it is the CIAC isn't to the same level as say prep school basketball. But what can't be lost, even regardless of the level of competition, is just the sheer dominance he's had.
Right.
And even in the summer, when they're playing on that summer circuit against the top players in the country, they're out in Las Vegas at the Adidas Super 64, playing on center court there.
That is.
And he's one of the top point guards in the country. He's the top 2 point guard in the country by virtually every major scouting service.
Well, speaking of top players in the country, how good truly is Ricky Lito?
Well, he's very special, and you know he's one of those guys. He's as good as he wants to be, but the exciting thing is how good could he be down the road. That's what really has people excited because he's a guy who can score in any different kind of way. He can shoot it. He can go to the rim. He's actually a better passer than people realize. He's got a mid-range game. He's got a teardrop floater that he never gets credit for because people just see the deep threes and the acrobatic dunks. So he can do just about anything there is on the court, and once he learns how to be more efficient with that, he's got a chance to be unstoppable.
There's a third young man signed, and he may bring the Friars some good fortune, no pun intended.
Right, and you know what? He's a great fit. He was actually committed last year under Keno Davis, and Coach Cooley was able to keep his commitment. And next to Lito and next to Dunn, he's a perfect complement because Josh Fortune from Virginia is a big-time shooter. So at 6'6", he's got great size for the wing position, but he can really space the court. And next to 2 playmakers like Lito and Dunn, that's going to be the ideal complement because now he's going to have a guy who can kick the ball out, and it's going to keep the opposing defense that much more spread out.
Now, when you look at the perimeter players that Cooley and his staff have recruited, what's the main theme that you're seeing over and over again with these guys that they've signed?
Well, I think right now it's just talent, just sheer talent. And I think the other thing, and this has been a big theme for Coach Cooley so far, is that he's not going to take a backseat to anyone. He's going to go and not only compete with the big boys, but not going to back down, not going to hesitate at all, and really in many cases just going to outwork a lot of these people.
Yeah, what's been the buzz with Ed Cooley's coaching staff? Particularly, we know Ed is a very hands-on head coach. What's been the buzz with his assistant coaches in the area?
Well, his assistant coaches are well known, and I think that goes, you can really say that for Coach Cooley too, because he's been so well connected in New England for such a long time and done a good job in terms of the versatility of his relationships. There's some coaches who are aligned with one program or another program, but Coach Cooley and his staff can really go into a variety of different prep school programs, a variety of different AAU programs, and really recruit throughout, and that's one of the reasons why you see him scoring big, not just in the class of 2012, but laying groundwork with the younger kids in the region too.
Well, you just alluded to competing with the big boys, and something that's jumped out at me these last couple of months is, in the past, the goal for Providence has been to compete with the top schools in the Big East. Right. And now when you're looking at the recruiting updates nationally, they're competing with the Kentuckys, some of the best programs in the nation. I really want to go behind the scenes with what you're hearing out there.
Well, again, you just look at the guys they've gotten. We talked about how Chris Dunn was supposed to go to Louisville. There's not too many people who cancel on Rick Pitino at the 11th hour. So, but that's exactly what happened. And that's just one example. You look at, again, some of the other young players right now, like Nerlens Noel well. He's not a young player, he's a senior, but right now Providence is on a list with Kentucky, with Syracuse, with Florida, with Georgetown, you know, so they are going against the very best there is. North Carolina, of course, for Nerlens as well. Jakar Sampson is in the mix too. He was just at Kansas. So this is all of a sudden a Providence squad that is recruiting against the very best programs in the country.
And what is the sell? I mean, besides Ed Cooley being such an engaging personality, it's wild times right now in college basketball. What league are they going to be in? What's going to happen with the Catholic schools of Providence? We just talked about that with Kevin McNamara and coach. But what is his big push that you're hearing out on the recruiting circuit?
Well, I think, and this isn't something that he would say directly, but I think he is part of the appeal. As you alluded to earlier, most of the time, a Big East head coach doesn't do a lot of hands-on recruiting. A lot of the legwork is done by the assistant coaches, but that's not necessarily the case at Providence. Usually it's an assistant coach and Coach Cooley going together. So not only is Coach Cooley there, but it's you know, you get double impact really, because they're showing you all that attention by sending multiple guys on the staff there. And so I think the aggressiveness with which he's pursued some of these guys has really gone a long way. And then simply what they're selling is a chance to be a part of something special. You know, Providence, the saying is right now, Providence is the big, PC's the big game in town in Rhode Island, and you know, there's no professional sport, so you get a chance for immediate playing time, really turn things around, and really be a very big fish in somewhat of a small pond, relatively speaking, to the rest of the Big East.
Well, you just mentioned some of the better perimeter players in the nation. It's obvious that PC was a perimeter-oriented team this year. How important is it that Ed Cooley, within the next few months, locks up a good post player inside?
Well, it's huge. I mean, that's, you know, to your point, their strength was on the perimeter this year. The strength of their recruiting class is on the perimeter next year. So I think their backcourt is going to be as deep and talented really as anybody in the conference next year. But up front is obviously going to be their Achilles. They've got a big addition to the class of 2012 unofficially. Siddiqui Johnson, who's an Arizona transfer, just played a couple of games at Arizona this year in his freshman year, is going to come, be eligible mid-year next season, and then he's going to have 3.5 years of eligibility. So really becomes part of that 2012 class. And he's a guy who was a top 100 recruit last year out in New York. He's highly, highly talented. He's a big physical presence inside. So he's going to have an opportunity to step right in. But now it's a matter of, can they get one more body to kind of team with Siddiqui inside and be really the hub of that front court moving forward.
And how did the Siddiqui Johnson move take place? What did you hear about that?
Well, that was just one of the things where, again, in recruiting, you've got to investigate all avenues to get players. And right now, there's not a lot of impact guys left on the market, high major caliber prospects. The ones that are, Providence is involved with 3 big-time guys. But you have to start investigating other avenues of getting players, whether it's the transfer market, whether it's the junior college market, whether it's the international market. And those are areas that a lot of those high major schools have gone right now. So Siddiqui Johnson was suddenly going to be very widely pursued when it became known that he was going to leave at mid-year.
You are a walking computer when it comes to this stuff, and that is a compliment. Adam Finkelstein, the best in the business when it comes to recruiting. Well, folks, that is it for Friars All Access this season. Cannot thank you enough here on Cox Sports for joining us all season long. Special thanks to the folks in New York as well on SNY. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Cox Sports. Friars All Access right here. I'm Vin Parisi. Thanks so much. Thursdays at 6 p.m., Sundays at 10:30 a.m.